Alright, I'm going to do a tutorial on how to do a double valve replacement. These are two older Toro Flow Pro valves. I already got the wires disconnected because I chopped it over here. I don't know if that's on camera. But be careful while you're digging. If you're doing it and you're not a professional, you probably want a little bit more. You probably want at least 2 feet of pipe exposed off the valves. I'm going to use crimp rings, some other poly pipe, some couplings. You run a rubber mallet, a cutter. So let's get into it. First things first, I'm going to replace these with two Irrigation, I forget what model number these are, 2400 TB. These are thread by barb, that's what the TB means. I would recommend getting some PGVs, some Hunter PGVs. They're just a better valve in my mind, but my boss said use these, so that's what I'm going to do. Gonna cut here. I'm gonna cut my first valve. I'm gonna cut my second valve over here. Give myself just a little bit of room to get back in there. Here's my first valve, and I'm just gonna unscrew it. It's pretty close there. Sometimes you gotta take the solenoid off the top. You notice how I cleared around all the dirt around my manifold T that this screws into. Want to drop that off. So I'm going to take my replacement valve, and I'm going to take my thread tape, and as you look at the valve like this, you want to go clockwise around the valve. The reason for that is, put 3 wraps. The reason for that is, now when I start to thread on this first thread, the tail is gonna not unscrew. It's gonna catch and it's gonna keep going in the same direction. Otherwise the tail can unscrew. And as I screw this in, I wanna make sure my valve's all tight together. My bleeder valve, I took the solenoid off. Actually, since this is such a tight space, I'm going to measure my valve up to the other valve, same size, relatively same size. So I'm going to mark and cut a new pipe fitting for my valve. Sorry, that was off camera, but I'm just going to tap that in. Now I recommend for anybody who uses clamps, these pinch clamps that use with the crimping tool. These are 3/16 clamps, so that's millimeters around. This old pipe, it may be 100 psi pipe. They're meant for 80 psi pipe. They will work on 100 psi because the wall is thicker, so you just don't squeeze them as tight. I like to put 2 on each valve. So I'll put my clamps on my valve. Recommend putting 2 on the other fittings, but I just don't, and you want to keep dirt out of the valve like I just got in there. They should wiggle on. Don't ever heat with a torch. Pain in my butt. Caught it way too long. That's alright. Got a slit. Hopefully I'm not to move all my gear over and actually work from this side. I do use the small hand trowel to do some digging. Teflon. Get over on this side. Pretty close. And in the pipe. There we go. And once I get it lined up and get the first thread to grab, should be all right. There we go. Got a pair of channel locks here. PGV's got a better grab because they're square and I can get a large channel locks on them. Preference, these Irrigation are alright what valves. I don't think they handle dirty water as well. And that should be tight enough to not leak for me. If it was longer, gosh, I'm gonna need to really clamp on that. See, barb pulled out. It's alright, I got an extra clamp in here. Ideally, you want them to fit the whole way, but I know that's not going to leak from experience. I want to tighten the stator. Put the solenoid back on so I don't get dirt in that end. And since this is on an elbow, I'll be able to turn it up. Make it a lot easier, but make sure I don't drop any dirt down that hole. Same thing, I'll grab my second valve, except I don't need to take the solenoid off this time. And you shouldn't use the solenoid as a wrench, because you can pop it off, or if you're using it to torque the head on, I mean. So, see, I'm grabbing on the space below the barb and not the actual barb. Same thing, I'm grabbing the space before the thread, not the actual threads, to tighten these down. There we go. Real tight now. Grab the valve on the body. Got it lined up. Actually want a little bit more room. May not be able to see the clamps. Want to cut it about 1/8 of an inch longer than you need, because the pipes will push back in the ground. If you can wiggle it on, you want to be careful using a mallet against valves. Rubber, not a hammer or anything. The other fittings, go ahead and that goes in. Like I said, this is 100 psi pipe. I don't have 3/16 clamps. Oh no, it's 80. That side is at least. Hop in front here. Clamp that down. Got it a little longer than I need. Just gonna cut. Put 3 clamps on in here. Lift both up. Push down. It's like installing a coupling for a repair. Go. Valve in. Clamp. Now when you do use 2 clamps, you want to alternate them so water doesn't get through the clamp path. Once we got that all back together, I'm going to actually squeeze one of the original clamps, a couple of them that I can reach. You can use these worm style hose clamps. Not my recommendation. Line up the valve wires the same. For almost 99% of the systems you're gonna see, maybe even more, 1 out of 100 may have a red common, and this is one of those old systems that does. What that means is the common wire acts as the neutral or the ground for the system, so the hot voltage comes through the other wires, and then the ground wire acts as the second prong on a plug or on these electronic solenoids, allowing it to open. Wire them up. You do want to use filled. These light blue ones are Blazing twist lock. These other ones are King gel filled direct bury wire nuts. So you can just go ahead and bury them. Once that's all done, you just put your box back on, bury everything. You notice here I got all my dirt on a tarp, so I can just pull the dirt back into the hole. All right, thanks for watching, guys.